1987 සිට නව්‍යකරණයෙන් ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය බැංකු ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ පෙරලියක් සිදු කළ අභිමානවත් 30 වසරක සැමරුම සම්පත් බැංකුව හෙට දින එළිය කරයි.
Tonight on News at 9, Meethotamulla tragedy. President to appoint a retired judge to investigate the incident.
First at 9, this is Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, protest against garbage. Police fire tear gas and water cannons to disperse crowds protesting against the dumping of garbage in Dumpe. Saitam in the Bourse. Saitam will be directed to be listed on the Colombo Stock Exchange. Surviving Panama Papers, Prime Minister of Pakistan Nawaz Sharif survives corruption charges. Good evening, Mahesh Johnny with Derana 24/7. Tonight we begin at the President's house, where President Maithripala Sirisena affirms the country is on its way to establishing a strong economic foundation despite criticism from certain socio-political factions. Addressing heads of media today, the President further revealed the decision to make changes to the hierarchy at state institutions within 2 weeks.
The meeting with the heads of media and news institutions was chaired by President Maithripala Sirisena at the President's house in Colombo today.
My clear and brave New Year message to the country is that we will not undergo a grave economic crisis like the one anti-government politicians are talking about. We are on a steady path in terms of economy. By today, our foreign reserves amount to more than 5 billion rupees. It will increase in the coming few months.
The head of state also alleged the former government of perpetrating the greatest treachery by the nation through the Port City project.
When we took over the country, the biggest betrayal for the nation had already happened through the Port City project deal. No leader of this nation had ever signed an agreement as such before. But we managed to change the agreement after discussions with China. They had given 200 hectares of land on an outright basis. We gave it on a lease basis.
President Sirisena also emphasized the decision to change heads of state institutions within 2 weeks.
After taking into consideration criticisms regarding state institutes, I will bring in change in the public sector within the next 2 weeks. There can be changes in the official positions of state institutes. Not only at an individual level, but a new program will also be brought on institutes to increase the productivity of the public sector.
අලුත් වැඩපිළිවෙලක් අපි හඳුන්වා දෙනවා.
නව මුහුණුවරක් ලබා දෙනවා කියලා විශේෂයෙන්ම රජයේ ආයතන ප්‍රධානීන්ගේ වෙනසක් සිදු වෙයි කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් දැනගන්න කැමතියි මොන වගේ නව මුහුණුවරක්ද ලැබෙන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේටත් නව මුහුණුවරක් ලැබෙයිද කියලා මම හිතන්නේ.
වෙසප්පුවේට ඉස්සෙල්ලා බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්.
ජාතික විගණන පනත ගේනවා කියලා. අද වෙනකන් ඒක පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙනල්ලා නැහැ. ඔබතුමාට රට වෙනුවෙන් පොරොන්දුවක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ කොච්චර කාලෙකින් මේක අරන් එනවද?
පහුගිය දෙසැම්බර් මාසයේ මම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අයවැයට සහභාගී වෙච්ච වෙලාවේ
When the opposition asked me of the National Audit Bill during the budget sessions last December, I made a statement saying it would be taken up at the Parliament by January. I gave directives to the relative departments as well, but there seems to be a delay. I am telling them now to take immediate actions to bring the bill.
වහාම උපදෙස් දෙනවා හැකි පමණ ඉක්මනින් මේ පනත පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගේන්න කියලා හිතනවා.
President Maithripala Sirisena plans to appoint a retired judge within a week to investigate the cause behind the Meethotamulla tragedy. The President made these revelations this morning during the monthly meeting with the heads of media institutions at the President's house. Meanwhile, an expert disaster relief team from Japan is also in the country to look into the collapse at the Meethotamulla garbage dump.
The expert team has been dispatched to Sri Lanka under the directives of the Prime Minister of Japan. They will hold discussions with the emergency team of the Ministry of Disaster Management on how to expedite relief mechanisms and reduce further risks. Japanese ambassador for Sri Lanka Kenichi Suganuma said a scientific inspection will be conducted pertaining to the collapse. The ambassador also noted the team would compile a report following the investigations. The ambassador handed over the relief equipment sent from Japan to the Minister of Disaster Management Anura Priyadarshana Yapa today to be distributed among the victims of the tragedy. Power generators, tents, water purifiers, portable jerry cans, mattresses, toxic gas detectors and mobile toilets were among the items donated by the Japanese government via the Japanese International Cooperation Agency.
We are very grateful to the Japanese government for constantly helping us as a friendly nation. They have donated emergency relief equipment to us.
No bodies were discovered over the past 2 days. However, rescue operations are still underway. Out of the 1,703 affected, 240 people from 70 families are still housed at Terence N. De Silva Mahavidyalaya in Kolonnava. Social activists held a candlelit vigil at the Independence Square yesterday, protesting the nature of the disaster.
A repeat of the Mithotamulla tragedy could occur elsewhere as well. Places like Karadiana, Muthurajawala, Ekala and Kirindiwala show high possibility for a similar tragedy. We will suggest that the authorities begin recycling garbage.
This is Derana 24/7 breaking news.
Well, we have some breaking news. President Maithripala Sirisena has directed to issue a special gazette notification making all garbage disposal proceedings at local government bodies as an essential service. President Media Unit in a statement said that the gazette notification will come into effect from midnight today. According to the Public Security Ordinance, any disruptions to garbage disposal by local government authorities will be made a punishable offence. The gazette also says that police can arrest any person who disturbs without a warrant from a magistrate. Once again, that story, President Maithripala Sirisena has directed to issue a special gazette notification making all garbage disposal proceedings at local government bodies as an essential service. Now, the President Media Unit in a statement says that the gazette notification will come into effect from midnight today. Moving on with other stories, tear gas and water cannons were used by police in Dompe today to disperse protesters agitated by the dumping of garbage collected from Colombo in the area.
Protests have been continuing in Dompe since Tuesday against garbage dumping in the area. They were seen objecting the arrival of garbage trucks at the Waste Management Centre yesterday. Protesters were seen demonstrating in the area this morning. In order to solve the issue, a group of protesters were invited for discussions by the officials of Dompe Police Station. Deputy Minister of Post, Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs, Dulip Wijayasekara, who was also the former chairman of the Dompe Pradesh Sabha, also sat in during discussions.
We are against government's decision to dump unsegregated garbage at this location. There aren't much garbage in the Colombo municipality. There is no proper way to solve this issue yet.
This afternoon, the residents interrupted 9 garbage trucks headed for the Dompe garbage site under police security. A turbulent situation arose when the police and riot police attempted to disperse protesters. A few were injured as police used tear gas and water cannons to bring the situation under control. Deputy Minister Dulip Wijayasekara and former chairman of the Dompe Pradesh Sabha, Milanja Tilaka, were also among those who were injured. The other Derana correspondent said the protesters are still at the protest site.
Also in other local stories, a need for a national level solution for waste management in the country was highlighted by several politicians today. Deputy Speaker Thilanga Sumuthipala emphasised this while visiting the Chief Prelate of the Malwathu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thera.
Deputy Speaker Thilanga Sumuthipala met the Chief Prelate of Malwatha chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thera, and received blessings. An agreement was signed by the Chief Prelate to assign land to Sri Lanka Cricket for the proposed cricket campus.
I suggested to the President a special institute be established which is owned by the government, comprised of the UDA, Environmental Ministry and Finance Ministry. That institute should be given the complete authority to manage and solve the country's garbage problems.
Meanwhile, Minister of Megapolis and Western Development Partali Champika Ranawaka asserted the construction of the proposed waste management centre in Aruwakkaru in Puttalam within the next 2 years. He was addressing a media briefing in Colombo today.
We have taken the responsibility of establishing a garbage dump in Aruwakkaru in Puttalam within the next 2 years. I kindly request the public to refrain from protesting against this timely requirement.
In other local stories, Janatha Vimukthi Peramuna charges certain politicians are making financial gains from the garbage mafia.
This issue was exacerbated by the garbage mafia. We initiated a waste disposal program in Tissamaharama Pradesha Sabha during the period of 2002 to 2010. First, we chose a 10-acre land. We built 4 tanks for recycling. Approximately 70 tons of waste were collected. We produced organic fertilizers from it. We sold organic fertilizers at 25 rupees to farmers. We called for the Ministry of Local Government and Provincial Councils and proposed this as a model for municipal councils and Pradesha Sabha.
This is negligence. Under the Urban Council Ordinance of 129, garbage could be made into profit. In this case, however, garbage was piled up without standard. As citizens of this country, we already informed the relevant authorities of the possible repercussions of this disaster. Authorities, however, ignored. Under the criminal law, omission is an offence. It is cited under the Article 298 of the Penal Code. 50-60 lives were lost as a result of it, although the tragedy could have been prevented. Well, more on the garbage issue. A former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says the present government has failed to make a difference, even though they haven't had much to do. He was addressing media in Anuradhapura whilst paying homage to the Jayashri Mahabodhi.
What difference can the government make? 2.5 years have passed, but still there is no change. The garbage dump has collapsed. I waged a war for 10 years. I also gave a solution for the garbage dump issue and allocated funds for it. This government has no such worries. They have no war to wage and infrastructure is in place. All they needed to do was to package the garbage and transport it away. They didn't do that. We worked to a plan.
On to one of our headline stories now. The recent events within the country grabbed the attention of the nation. However, the issue of SITEM still remains unresolved. Its latest development being the SITEM Parents Association's visit to the Human Rights Commission today. It was to testify for a complaint they lodged pertaining to the report submitted by the Medical Council in 2015, which highlights quality issues of SITEM.
The Medical Council did not appear as respondents today. The Medical Council is continuously evading this.
The Government Medical Officers Association also expressed their views regarding the SITEM issue at a media briefing today.
What might happen is they will continue to pull the wool over the government and continue to profit despite the government making budgetary allocations for its upkeep. Many unions including ports, banking field, electricity board, petroleum corporation as well as the teaching sector have collectively decided to organize a protest within the next 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, this morning, during the meeting with the heads of media institutions, President Maithripala Sirisena revealed plans to place SITEM under a council of professional administrators.
අලුත් යෝජනා කීපයක් සයිටම් ආයතනයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් රජයේ තීරණයක් ගත්තා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
The government has taken a new decision on SITEM. We directed them to list SITEM at the Colombo Stock Exchange, removing it from sole ownership. We are going to make a policy decision and we will ask them to establish a board of management with professionals. Administration and the management of SITEM should come under that board of management.
පාලක මණ්ඩලයක් යටතේ පරිපාලනයේ කළමනාකාරීත්වය ඒ කටයුතු සියල්ල කෙරිය යුත්තේ කියලා හිටන්.
Minister of Science and Technology and Research, Susil Premchanda, is of the view that it is inappropriate to hand over the oil complex in Trincomalee to India. He made the elaboration during an event organized to seek public consensus on the preparation of a national policy on international trade.
These 102 oil tanks are spread across 525 acres. In 2002, the CPC was divided into 3 sections. One section was given to an Indian corporation, one to the Petroleum Corporation, and the remaining one was given to the Treasury to sell. But in 2004, when the regime shifted, I became the subject minister and opposed the measure. As a result, the remaining 1/3 was not sold. Meanwhile, the Indian Oil Company bought 3 tanks in Trincomalee and stored their own oil. The IOC sells only 15% of oil in Sri Lanka. The remaining 85% is sold by the Sri Lanka Petroleum Corporation. 1,020,000 tons of oil are stored in 102 tanks. That amount is too much for the consumption of this country. I sought clarification from the Attorney General as to the ownership of the land. The property that is on the land belongs to the government. The Petroleum Corporation cannot lease property that belongs to the government or sign an agreement with another corporation, and therefore this agreement is illegal. The question is whether they need oil tanks or the land.
මෙතන අපි මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ මේ ගොල්ලන්ට අවශ්‍ය තෙල් ටැංකිද භූමියද.
Department of Immigration and Immigration plans to issue passports online in the near future. This initiative is an innovative process of the department. As a first step, the public could renew their passports via the internet, while payments could also be made by credit cards. This initiative will be implemented before the end of the year. On to business news now. Cases have been filed against 850 trade outlets for falling foul over trade regulations during the festive season. The Consumer Affairs Authority said 1,130 shops were raided from the 1st of April for selling goods at inflated prices, sales of expired goods and cashing goods. Moreover, cases have also been filed against certain outlets for not issuing warrants for electrical goods. In other business stories, touted as the tallest twin towers in Sri Lanka, the Horton Square project began construction work recently. The $250 million mixed project will see the development of twin towers with a total of 75 floors in each tower being built simultaneously.
The groundbreaking ceremony for Horton Square at Regis Hotels and Residences was held under the patronage of Minister of Megapolis and Western Development, Patali Champika Ranawaka.
The integrated residential development will not only serve the upper and middle class population, but also the international communities living nearby. We can thus expect the residential needs of the Colombo Business District along the Berry Lake to grow significantly over the next 3 years.
The construction work of the mixed development project is expected to conclude by 2020.
Horton Square will represent a symbol of confidence in Sri Lanka, and other international investors will surely follow. It will be an engineering marvel. Our consortium of investors, which includes Malaysians, Singaporeans and Europeans, are proud to tell the world Sri Lanka is open for business.
Let's take a look at how Asian markets performed today. Japanese stocks closed flat for a second day today as investors continue to display caution ahead of French elections this weekend. The Nikkei 225 ended 0.01% lower, while Taiwan's TSEC 50 and Shanghai's SE Composite also saw only marginal movements. Australia's ASX and Mumbai Sensex made 0.25% gains, but the Hang Seng in Hong Kong was Asia's biggest major gainer today, closing almost 1% in the green. Stocks across Europe are showing slight gains near close, but the Paris CAC 40 is up close to 2% in today's trading. Here in Colombo, the Colombo equities extended gains for the third straight day, with both indices gaining close to a percentage. Market turnover was 1.4 billion rupees, 35% of which accounted for foreign participation. Positive sentiments were reflected across the board, with gainers overweighing losers 127 to 58. We have more details from the trading flow.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 58.48 points to close at 6,505.28, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained at 32.68 points to close at 3,704.24. Today there were 5 crossings and the crossing turnover was 623.23 million rupees. Today's foreign purchases was 850.49 million rupees and the foreign sales was 152.97 million rupees.
Well, the Sri Lankan rupee closed firmer today as dollar inflows from equity-related transactions outpaced mild imported dollar demand. Rupee forwards were active with 2-week forwards closing at 153 rupees and 10 to 25 cents per dollar compared with Wednesday's close. Now, here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day. Starting sports with some football news, Juventus produced a defensive masterclass in the Champions League last night, keeping Barcelona scoreless at the Nou Camp and knocking the Spanish giants out of the tournament. In the night's other tie, Monaco upstaged Dortmund at home to join Juventus and the 2 other Madrid sides in the last 4.
Having lost 3-0 in Turin, Barcelona needed a repeat of their comeback in the previous round against Paris Saint-Germain to progress. Juventus were impregnable, restricting Barcelona's world-class strike force to half chances. Dortmund, whose team bus was hit by an explosion before last week's first leg, needed to overcome a 3-2 home defeat. The Monaco side were quick to extend their aggregate lead, with teenage sensation Kylian Mbappe and Colombian striker Falcao scoring early goals.
And a mountain decline for Borussia Dortmund.
Marco Reus pulled one back for the Germans to make it 5-3, but Monaco ran away 3-1 winners on the night.
Well, that's the way to start.
Rafael Nadal has moved into the 4th round of his quest for the 10th Monte Carlo title, while third seed Stan Wawrinka has also advanced. The Spaniard made a flying start to the match, but Britain's Kyle Edmund made Nadal work hard for his 400th clay court win.
9-time champion Nadal flew out of the blocks, taking the first set to love. Kyle Edmund hit back quickly in the second and won the set 5-7. Nadal, however, wore Edmund down in the third to advance into the 4th round. Meanwhile, Stan Wawrinka also made quick work of his first set against Jiří Veselý, but the Czech fought back to level the match. Wawrinka produced a strong performance in the third to run away with the match 6-2, 4-6, 6-2.
Wawrinka, 2 sets to 1.
Also in sports news, Super Bowl winning New England Patriots were received at the White House by President Donald Trump, who congratulated the team for pulling off one of the greatest comeback wins in NFL history. Straight tight end Rob Gronkowski appeared to display post-Gideon's ambitions as he dropped in on under fire White House spokesperson Sean Spicer during his daily press briefing.
I think there's an opportunity. Can I just...
Need some help?
I think I got this, but thank you. Maybe. All right, thanks, man. I'll see you in a minute. Hold on one second. All right, that was cool.
Let's move on to international news now. Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif survived a Supreme Court ruling today over corruption allegations linked to the Panama Papers that could have led to his removal from office. The 5-judge panel ordered a new investigation instead, which will seek further testimony from the Prime Minister and his sons.
Calls for an investigation began when Sharif's 2 sons and his daughter were named in the massive Panama Papers document leak in April last year. Local media reported they were linked to offshore companies that own property in London. Following protests, a panel was finally formed last November to investigate links between Sharif and his children's offshore accounts. Sharif and his family have denied any wrongdoing and have dismissed the claims as politically motivated.
Australia has announced plans to rewrite its citizenship process, pinning tougher requirements on applicants only 2 days after abolishing a visa popular among overseas workers. Speaking today at a news conference, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said that applicants must prove their Australian values to gain citizenship.
Announcing the overhaul, Minister of Immigration and Border Protection Peter Dutton revealed that the bar will be raised for prospective Australians.
The residency requirement increases to 4 years. There's a significant change in relation to the English language requirement, which at the moment is basic.
Speaking at the news conference, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said the changes would ensure that migrants were better integrated into the community.
We need to ensure that our citizenship test enables applicants to demonstrate how they have integrated into and engaged with our Australian community.
Shifting their spotlight away from ongoing tensions with North Korea, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has moved on to Iran, accusing the country of alarming ongoing provocations. In a news briefing yesterday, Tillerson said US policy towards Iran would go under review, including the issue of a nuclear deal made with Tehran in 2015 and the country's action in the Middle East.
In his statement, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson denounced Iran's nuclear program, even though he had previously affirmed that the country is abiding by the 2015 deal curbing its nuclear program.
Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism and is responsible for intensifying multiple conflicts. An unchecked Iran has the potential to travel the same path as North Korea and take the world along with it.
Meanwhile, North Korea, which had previously threatened a preemptive nuclear strike on the US, today sharpened their rhetoric, warning of no less than a, quote, super mighty preemptive strike, unquote.
Welcome back everyone. On to your weather forecast for tomorrow. Fairly strong winds of up to 40 kilometers per hour at times can be expected over the northern half of the island. Mainly fair weather will prevail over most provinces. However, a few showers will occur at few places in the Galle and Ratnapura districts. Here's your city by city forecast. All that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. For the latest in local, international, business, entertainment and sports news, do log on to www.otherderana.lk. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Other Derana. And before we go, we like to take you to the World Heritage Site of Golden Temple of Dambulla, a sacred pilgrimage site for 22 centuries. This cave monastery, with its 5 sanctuaries, is the largest cave temple complex in Sri Lanka. We'll return at 9 p.m. tomorrow. Until then, have a very good night.
Information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.